Haunted Halloween 85 is a beat-em-up platformer developed by Retrotainment. You play as Donnie Johnstown, and on the day of the Halloween dance, you arrive to school to find your classmates zombified and the halls overrun with evil. Can you defeat 6 old-school stage bosses and save your girlfriend? Before you smirk and say, of course! Be warned that this is OG Nintendo tough. You can collect serum sodas for extra lives, but when those are gone, it's game fucking over. Oh, you wanted continues and save states? We probably also think sweet tarts are too sour. But this game isn't just trick-or-treating as an NES title. It was released on honest-to-God NES cartridges back in October of 2015 at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Just 30 cartridges were made available initially, but word of mouth quickly turned this one into a cult classic and additional carts were produced. Not just in gray, but also zombie green and a very special red variant just for Retro Game Con 2016. Highly recommend this one. Pick it up on Steam, or if you have an NES, grab a cart from RetrotainmentGames.com while you still can. Savage Halloween is a 2D action platformer from Second Boss Game Studio released in October 2020. You play as James the Pumpkinhead, Lulu the Were-Dog, or Dominica the Vampire, and zoom into the first level in style, running over a bunch of fat slobs having a gimp mask dance-off. The vibe instantly reminded me of Super Ghouls and Ghosts, though Savage Halloween is a much kinder game when it comes to the difficulty level. By no means is it easy, but the plentiful power-ups across all 7 visually unique stages really help when dispatching the many theme-appropriate enemies, like minigun-toting Santas on the Ice World, and trained monkeys at the circus. Not sure why the circus boss is a giant garlic man, though. In addition to the action platforming, you also play through some cool auto-scrolling shoot-em-up segments, a water level that's actually pretty fun, and a horrific host of bosses that'll really test your mettle. But mercifully, after a game over, you can pick back up at the beginning of the stage you were on. And once you beat the game, there are 26 achievements to chase, alternate colors for each character, and a multiplayer option. Give it a shot, please! Halloween Mysteries is a cozy Halloween fantasy RPG from a mysterious developer called Good Gear Games, who released this one in 2016 then fled the scene, and I have a theory as to why that might be. But first, this game takes place on Halloween night. Hordes of monsters have flooded into a peaceful land from the underworld. You step into the role of Seraph, a wizard sent by his elderly master to retrieve 4 magic crystals from their evil guardians. If you play any Diablo or RuneScape, you'll be familiar with the style of gameplay here. Run around, click on enemies, get treasures, level up, kill boss, repeat. Now, I refer to this game as cozy, and it is for the most part. I'd compare it to the Trine games. Gameplay, no. Vibes, yes. Trine has a functioning jump feature though. This game doesn't, and for some reason they threw in a stage that turns Halloween Mysteries into the worst 3D platformer I've ever played. You have to jump from falling platform to falling platform, and a majority of the time you get stuck and die. It's like the game makes you roll to jump. I bet this one section is why Good Gear Games went into hiding.
You didn't do a good job.
Gorf the Ghost Saves Halloween is a cute little adventure game that can be played in your browser or via Game Boy emulator. Created by Dash Rando, aka Puke Nukem on Twitter, and released on October 22nd, 2021, this 15 to 30 minute quickie has you floating around in adorable Game Boy-hood on Halloween. But despite the inviting atmosphere, look at those little jack-o'-lanterns, and jaunty chiptunes, the town is threatened by an evil skeleton lurking in the local cemetery, and the townsfolk are counting on you to stop him. However, the cemetery gate's locked, and to get the key you need to do the following. Get a candy bucket from the junkyard, trick or treat at Dave's house and get a shit ton of candy corn, sell the candy corn to Miranda who's hanging out in a hole in the ground, use that money to buy some beer for Rob who thanks you with a human skull that you then take to a witch in the Forgotten Forest. She thanks you with a vial of goat blood that you give to the town Satanist Raven so she can complete her satanic ritual which sends you to hell where you find the key to the cemetery. Then you visit the wise man at his pumpkin house, procure the spooky sword, and use it to pwn that skeletal noob. Give it a shot, please! Remember Homestar Runner, the acclaimed 2000s Flash animation? Well, creators Mike and Matt Chapman are still producing fresh Homestar Runner material in 2023, including a recent Halloween point-and-click adventure game called Homestar Runner Halloween Hide and Seek. It's Halloween night, and everyone's dressed as a different adventure game icon, such as Bubs portraying Hoagie from Day of the Tentacle. You are Homestar Runner dressed as the hero from Hero's Quest, no, Hero's Quest, and your quest is to find all your costumed friends and meet them in the spooky woods. However, simply locating your pals isn't enough. Some have made up special rules, such as King of the Town, who says he can't be found while he's bouncing, and Strong Bad, who's sitting in a 300-pound chair made specifically to ensure you'd never move him from his hiding spot. This being an adventure game, you have to use found items in generally absurd ways to achieve your goals and ultimately get all your buddies out to the forest. There's also a secret quest to find an additional character. For some chuckle-worthy, lighthearted fun with classic Homestar voice acting, give this one a shot, please! Available on Steam! What would happen if you threw The Legend of Zelda and Atari's Adventure into a bowl with a pumpkin and mixed them vigorously? Nothing. Anyway, Gordy and the Monster Moon from Twinbeard is a brand new 2D action puzzler with lots of exploring to do. As Gordy the Pumpkin Astronaut, you bounce around the moon where you've crash landed and search for your unmanned companion craft. When the game begins, you have just 3 candy corn pieces that represent your health and no way to defend yourself. But once you get your first web, you can use it to shoot and neutralize enemies. Any foes who touch webbed up baddies also become webbed up themselves. And if you web all enemies near an X on the ground, one of your lost cryopods will emerge. Once activated, pumpkin seeds are released, vines grow and often create new paths, health is restored, and progress is saved. To beat the game, you'll want to locate additional candy corn, webs, and other quest items like wading boots that let you walk in shallow water, and a candle to light up dark caves. If you make it to your secondary spacecraft, you win! Give it a shot, please! Available on Steam and itch.io. Halloween Pie from developer Ingenious Fun. Famous for other Xbox Live Arcade hits such as 3 Days of Nurse Fanny and Who's Gonna Get the Girl, Ingenious Fun decided to bring this 2012 Xbox exclusive to PC back in 2019. You play as a lady wearing a tasteful t-shirt in a forest full of skeletons and crows that want to disrobe you. You get hit once and it's down to bra and panties. Twice you die. Like Super Ghouls and Ghosts but with bigger titties. Also like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, your clothes can be restored by opening treasure chests found throughout the level. The level. Is there more than one?
I don't know!
You see, you visit a busty witch who asks you to gather up 5 pumpkins. Do that and she bakes the titular Halloween pie and burns it, so she sends you back out to find 7 more pumpkins. This time the skeletons are more numerous and some of them throw bones at you from off the screen. That plus the worst hit detection I've ever seen, as well as the fact that the 7th pumpkin seemed to be hidden in another dimension. Yeah, I couldn't justify spending another moment playing this one. Pure horse shit. How about another game I almost couldn't deal with? This one's called Smash Halloween Pumpkins: The Challenge, created by Anamik Mahumdar, who appears to be quite the prolific developer, and released September 14th, 2018 on Steam. The player's goal here is simple: destroy the prescribed number of pumpkin zombies before time runs out, and then exit the level through the double doors. Despite the negative reviews, I thought this looked like a fun throwback, maybe inspired by some old school Apogee titles like Halloween Harry or Monster Bash. But I forgot, being inspired by something good doesn't protect your creation from being horse shit. And this game is kinda horse shit. The enemies spawn from doors littered about the levels, and with the exception of the small jack-o'-lanterns, immediately kill you upon impact. Sometimes the doors are on off-screen platforms high above you, and enemies will drop down like deadly turds being shat into the toilet that is this game's playfield. Credit where it's due though, the game looks cool, I like the style, it just plays like bunk. Half the time you just find a spot and stand there shooting across the screen until you meet the kill quota. Even the final boss forces the same strategy. It's just bare bones in the worst way. No thank you. Monster League's a silly-ass Halloween-themed racing game that's been in early access for nearly 5 years. And with creative director Damian Szymanski, now the CEO of Render Cube Games, the developer behind the very successful Medieval Dynasty, Monster League might be stuck in early access forever. No developer updates since 2019, so... Now, whenever you see cartoony characters racing cute little cars, you probably think the same thing I do. Great. Another Sonic Drift ripoff. But not so fast. This unfinished game is still really fun. In race mode, there are 8 tracks with one of 3 themes: Transylvania Spooky, Brendan Fraser, and Hoth. Cruise around as one of 6 drivers: Vlad, William, Jack, Frank, Abe, or Cleo. Once you've done your racing, there's also Ball Mode, which might remind you of another game where you play soccer with cars. Road Trip Adventure on PS2. Hockey, Battleground, where you win by inflicting the most hits upon your opponents. Golden Egg, won by holding the golden egg longer than anyone else. And Capture the Frog, which is basically capture the flag. If the price ever comes down, try it out. Halloween Sweet Pletchus? Sweet Pull Chase? In this 2021 release from developer Mandjet, who seems to have no other online presence outside the Steam page for this game, play begins on Tutorial Street, which isn't much of a tutorial beyond letting you know space equals jump, control equals slide, and the E key is used to get candy from homes where trick-or-treaters are welcome. You're not told that walking into a decorative jack-o'-lantern with no candy kills you, or that some houses that look welcoming are actually witch hideouts. No, you have to kind of trial and error this one from start to finish. Hey, a door that goes inside a little shop. I wonder if there's any candy in there. Yeah! Hey, a hole in the ground. I wonder if it leads to a secret candy cave. Maybe Miranda from Gorf the Ghost is down there. Nope, just death. But this is what you do. Walk to the right, get candy, don't die. There are also 4 boss fights: Kyle's mom, the lawyers, the burglars, and the final boss the whole game, a guy playing tug of war against some kids at the county fair. Help them win, and that's the end. Sweet Pull Chase. Horror Globes. No, this isn't a video about Elvira's chest. We're talking about a combat-free first-person chase puzzler from Isla Oliva Games. It's Halloween night, and you're an 8-year-old boy searching for the secret behind a local witch's candy recipe. You're also defying a town-wide curfew, but it doesn't seem like you're in danger of running into any cops while rooting around the witch's property. And when she's not crawling after you or killing you via jump scare, it's actually a pretty relaxing setting. As you explore, you run into some puzzles, and often the solution is a key item to be found somewheres about the witch's domain. And since you're never too far from a Horror Globe save spot, snooping around is encouraged. Just remember, if your screen starts looking glitchy, the witch is close by, so turn off your flashlight and crouch until she fucks off. Make it to the old hag's subterranean kitchen and enjoy a Shyamalan twist that I won't spoil. First run will probably take you an hour or two, but if you want to unlock all the achievements, you'll have to track down all 13 candies, which could extend your playtime a fair amount if you don't use a guide. Trick or Treat, a moniker that's just as emblematic of the spooky season as the word Halloween itself. And this is the one game on Steam that gets that title. A single screen platformer where you're a jack-o'-lantern that has to collect all the donuts on each level to enter the pumpkin house and move on to the next stage. It looked cute, but folks, this game is horse shit. First of all, you get no display settings. This is how you're forced to play it. The artwork's okay, but once you figure out you always need to jump at the last possible second, you can beat all 13 of the advertised 16 levels in a few minutes. Yeah, they advertise 16 levels, but no matter how many times you complete level 13, 14 never unlocks. And the most despicable thing about this one is that it's just a Halloween version of an asset swap foundation that's used for at least 14 other games that play exactly the same way but are just given a different paint job. This one, Lucky Panda, is being sold for $16.99! All these games are scams, and they utilize fake review services to con people into buying them. Trick or Treat and all of its fraudulent brethren should be avoided by all. Have you ever wanted to play a game that affords you the freedom to escape a slasher villain, become a slasher villain, and also give a cat explosive diarrhea? Well, Jordan King, aka Black Eyed Priest, is your hookup.
Holler if you hear me!
Released on the Puppet Combo Patreon on Friday the 13th, 2023, Ding Dong Dead has you stepping into the shoes of a first-time babysitter. It's Halloween night, and you're responsible for keeping an eye on a young rapscallion named Rex. However, there are plenty of diversions to keep you busy as the story unfolds. You can read, lift weights, listen to music, order pizza, invite friends over, break into the family gun case, set your friends on fire, and more. This game also features a light RPG leveling system that will directly impact your ability to achieve the 3 possible endings. For example, if your moxiness isn't sufficient, none of your friends will listen to you when you tell them to hide, and if they're out in the open when the Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper shows up, not so good. This game is twisted fun with loads of interactivity. Here's what you do in Bones of Halloween from Petite Games. Walk around this map and shoot skeletons until you die or get bored, or die of boredom. There are 5 variations of survival mode, but the differences between them are almost not worth mentioning. But I guess I will anyway, because what the hell else am I going to talk about? In classic mode, you collect money from killing skeletons to buy new guns that can't be switched or scrolled through, by the way. If you're done with a weapon, you just have to throw it. You can also get fortune cards, which should really be called misfortune cards because they almost always seem to f*** you. In arcade mode, the weapons are free and there are no fortune cards. Hardcore mode is exactly like classic mode, but with harder enemies. Money Dripper is exactly like classic, but your money starts disappearing as soon as you collect it. Explosive mode is rocket launcher versus only exploding skeletons. There's also a challenge mode that gives you specific goals, but there's no reward for completing them. Nothing to unlock, no boss fights, no additional levels, no secrets, no buildings to enter. You can't even blow up the jack-o'-lanterns. Bones of Halloween, more like bones of a video game. All Hallows Eevee from Owled Games might look like a fun little doodle bug, but it's actually a precision platformer designed to ground your spirit into a fine dust. And though it looks, sounds, and plays like an authentic ZX Spectrum title, it was just released on October 6, 2022. As Eevee, you go level by level, avoiding enemies and making your way to the exit door that appears once you've collected all the candy buckets. Starts off easy enough, but it's not long before this game shows its teeth and begins to test your resolve. If you'd like to try a level without being kicked back to the start screen every 3 lives, there is a practice mode, but you can only select from screens you've actually unlocked. In total, there are 20 normal levels and at least 1 secret level that I saw, but there may be more. And while you'll probably get pissed and need to take a break from time to time, if you're at all like me, you'll feel the game nagging at you to come back and try again. Through the discomfort, you will learn from your mistakes and eventually succeed, if you're patient. Just try not to get too worked up. All Hallows Eevee is free on Steam, so gird up your nethers and give it a shot, please! Halloween! Hero, developed and published by Gossamer Games and released via Steam on October 25th, 2021. The first order of business is leaving your own backyard. You put on a ghost costume made from some bed sheets, and that allows you to slip past the neighbor lady, since she thinks you're just a normal kid out trick-or-treating. No one in this town realizes you're a dog so long as you're dressed up, so they'll gladly shower you with sweets as you go begging. Some of the townsfolk even give you missions that you receive badges and candy for completing. I enjoyed trying to serve Frankenstein his divorce papers. Candy is used to purchase additional costumes that let you proceed through the game's story. For example, you need the mermaid costume to go underwater and the astronaut costume to go to the moon. Want to get even crazier? Put on the dino costume and visit the mad scientist mini Jurassic Park. In this section, you get to play as a squirrel and a T-Rex. There's also a spider, mailman, and gummy corn costume to unlock, so make sure you find all that candy. This wholesome Halloween-y adventure is a great way to unwind after a stressful day of horse shit. Is there still a place for new single-screen arcade games? You're goddamn right there is. Hallowed Candy from Project Level Studios proves that. September 29th, 2018 was the date and itch.io was the location. It was then and there that Hallowed Candy was released. I figured it might be worth a couple 2-3 attempts, but I didn't plan on getting instantly addicted, but I did. Because while the game is simple, it's not easy, and it's also not horse shit. Usually your deaths feel like mistakes you made, so you naturally want to try again. As a blue-haired jack-o'-lantern chick called Pipkin, your goal is simply to beat your own high score. You'll be dodging bats because they can't be killed, blasting zombies that take progressively more hits to dispatch as your score climbs, collecting candy, and fighting to stay alive long enough to get 3 keys that unlock a treasure chest worth 50,000 points. There's also a power-up to turn zombies back into one-hit bums, and as for the soda machine, I was never able to figure out what it does. Sat there bashing Y multiple times like I was prompted to do, but nothing. If you have a PC, you have to try Hallowed Candy ASAP. See if you can beat my high score of 82,900. Sinister Halloween from Celeritas Games is a most unusual romp that begins just outside the player character's house on Halloween night. You're immediately given the choice to either explore the neighborhood or jump right into the campaign. I chose to take a stroll. While trick-or-treating, you can also take on some silly side quests and see how many motion-activated animatronics you can trigger. Why not respectfully admire a firmly toned ass or two while you're at it? None of this stuff is required to beat the game, but I found it entertaining. When you're ready for the main story, you head over to the abandoned house. Soon you're trapped inside and have to escape Mama Ghost. The rest of the campaign follows an explore escape routine that will have you fighting off werewolves in a cemetery and rescuing your friends from a reaper in the town manor. Also gotta watch out for Jada Pinkett Smith in the manor attic. The haunted forest, suburban mansion, barn, and slaughterhouse areas are all free DLC chapters worth playing. And if you really dig this one as much as I did, there's the paid asylum DLC in which you save a missing girl from the hellish sanitarium. Totally worth $1.99. Play Sinister Halloween on Steam in regular or VR mode and snatch up all 50 achievements. Give this one a shot, please. You might know the popular Cat Quest series from the Gentle Bros, but the precursor to that beloved franchise is a 2016 loot-a-thon called Slashy Hero. In normal mode, there are 95 levels to complete. Each level presents Slashy with a different challenge. Once completed, a portal appears and you step into it to reach the next stage. To defeat enemies, you hold the left clicker, draw a path, and then release to send Slashy along his route, slashing up anything in his way. You're rewarded with candy for killing bad guys, and sometimes enemies will even drop costume pieces. Masks and other accoutrements can be found in treasure chests and purchased from the Barrelhead Merchant, while ability upgrades can be bought from the Top Hat Merchant. With 69 costumes to unlock, stat modifiers with each new accessory, secret rooms, endless mode, and a timed mode, this roguelite-like delivers both in quality and quantity. And why do I call it a roguelite-like? Because it has roguelite vibes, but they give you f***ing checkpoints every so often. Give it a shot, please! Girl vs. Witch is a Korean browser-based puzzle game from developer Kyangji that can be played in both the original Korean and in English on itch.io. You start the game as a young lady who's gone to the local witch's house on Halloween night. Your goal is to stop her from turning your fellow villagers into stone statues. However, according to the prologue, the witch only performs her trickery on October 31st and returns everyone to human form on November 1st, so I'm not sure why you'd even bother, but anyway. Upon entering the witch's abode, that old Jezebel flies in on her broom and zaps you with her stone spell, leaving a statue where your first attempt ended. Then you take over as the next girl. Now when you go back inside, you can use your previous girl for cover and avoid the witch's spells. You can also push those statues around to activate pressure plates and create shielded pathways for areas where the witch becomes faster and more aggressive. If you're able to solve all the riddles and place a statue on each of the star point circles, a cookie appears in the middle of the main room. Take it to the witch in her upstairs lair and she agrees to stop turning your fellow townsfolk into statues so long as you bring her sweets every Halloween. Hey, thick or treat, am I right? Escape Halloween Forest from Jonathan Moy is a comforting morsel of casual Halloweeny fun, so long as you can put up with this absurd, unnecessarily difficult platforming sequence in Poku's Swamp. Seriously, there's no easier way to ruin an otherwise fun game than to throw in hogwash like this. Have you ever seen a game where you have to run to stay on moving platforms? What the shit? Anyway, get that nonsense over with first. Then take a breath and enjoy the dazzling world of whimsy that awaits. Your ultimate goal here is to collect all 5 gems that will open a portal and return you home. But why rush? Just look it. Such sights to see. Say, just walking this vibrant amber tunnel is worth the price of admission alone. But that's not all there is to do. How about playing tag in the cemetery with ghosts and a mummy? How about a nice hedge maze? Pro tip, keep turning left and you'll find your way out. Then there's also Vlad's Haunted Mansion to explore, a whole ass pumpkin patch to traverse, and a thrilling broom race against Gas the Ghost. Once you have all the gems, it's through the portal and off to a Christmas world. What the? On today's Snack Size Super Review, we've got ourselves a snack size game called Tricky Treat. Created by a developer called Night Zero and released on Halloween Day 2021 on itch.io, Tricky Treat is a memory-based trick-or-treat simulator. After a devious sentient cauldron gives our costume protagonist the choice to either be eaten or collect specific candies for the cauldron's consumption, Halloween night turns into a matter of life and death. When a level begins, you'll find yourself right next to the cauldron in the center of a new neighborhood. On the left side of the screen will be the cauldron's candy order, and at the top center of the screen is a green bar that counts down the time you have left to visit the correct houses, retrieve the candy, and bring it back to the cauldron. If you pick up the wrong candy, it can be thrown away in a trash can, but if you make too many mistakes or time runs out, it's game over. Counting the tutorial, there are only 4 neighborhoods to complete, so even if you do fail a time or two, it doesn't take long to give it another go. The full game only took me 6 or so minutes to complete, and it can be played right in your browser, so why not give it a shot, please? Did Haunted Halloween 85 leave you wanting more Halloween platformers that feel like authentic NES games? Then Halloween Forever from Imaginary Monsters should satisfy your sweet tooth. While this isn't an actual NES game like Haunted Halloween, it does an incredible job of wearing the costume. As Pumpkin Man, you run and jump your way around a creepy, groovy world, launching candy corn from your throat at bats, skeletons, and chainsaw men, among others. If you want to obtain all 36 achievements, you'll need to play on normal mode, which starts you with 3 lives and no continues. Extra lives can be found in the shape of jack-o'-lantern buckets, but if you lose them all, then you have to start the game all over again. Some of the deaths can be cheap when you're trying to learn the maps and boss fight patterns, so it's nice that a 99 lives mode has been included. This makes getting through the entire game much easier, but the trade-off is that while this mode is active, achievements can't be unlocked. There's a secret ending if you find all the runes, and there are also additional heroes to collect, like Butternut Bro, who has explosive candy corn that deals extra damage, and a skeleton with long-range bone projectiles. This is another one I can't recommend enough. Give it a shot, please! Trip or Treat from Double Mask Games is probably the shortest, most simplistic game we'll look at this month, but the art direction and character design make it worth highlighting. This twisted 2D runner was released on itch.io on Halloween Day 2021. If you take a look at the tutorial, you'll notice that they're not overloading you with a convoluted control scheme. Space to jump, left click to slash, right click to throw candy. When the game starts, you're off to the races immediately, running down the street on Halloween night dressed as a murderous peppermint swirl. Hey, if you still need a costume for this year, there's one for you. Now, you'll quickly see that a tall, lumpy monster with mouth agape is hot on your trail. If you run into too many obstacles, he eats you and your game ends. Better to jump over obstacles and use that knife to cut down the rude trick-or-treaters who threaten to slow you down so that the monster eats them instead. Candy collected can be tossed to other kids when you suspect trying to knife them might not work due to an upcoming obstacle. If you feed the monster enough children to fill up the meter at the top of the screen, you win and satiate the beast until Halloween comes again. Publisher-developer Digital Eclipse aims to be the Criterion collection of video games, and they've done a great job establishing that reputation with their Atari 50 The Anniversary Celebration and TMNT Cowabunga collection, among a host of other fantastic releases. But now a new adventure begins, with the Digital Eclipse Arcade Series. These are brand new titles inspired by 80s arcade classics. Just today, on October 25th, 2023, Candy Creeps became the first of these fresh arcade titles to hit Steam, and the controls define arcade simplicity. Move and jump. Objectives: smash pumpkins, collect 3 candies to power up, destroy Pumpkin, next stage. You get 3 normal screens and then a sort of boss fight level where you have to knock knives upwards to kill the Pumpkin. Do that and the cycle begins again, but with increasing difficulty. While I didn't quite reach the top of the leaderboard, I got close, but then my wife distracted me and I died. There's also 2-player mode and screen effect options. Easily one of my favorite games I played this month. Give it a shot, please! Phantom Hollow's Eve is a cutesy Halloween adventure puzzle game from Surprise Orb. It was released on September 23, 2022 on itch.io and can be downloaded free of charge. But before you do, be warned, the game comes with an advisory that soft-locking yourself out of solving certain puzzles is still possible. With that in mind, I don't feel embarrassed telling you that I didn't complete this game. Did I get soft-locked? Or am I just a dumbass?
I don't know!
What I do know is that I tried my best to help all the needy customers at Phantom's Hollow Eve costume shop. Not only the human customers who needed relationship counseling or advice concerning their gender confusion, but also ghostly customers in the spirit realm. Yeah, you have to work in both dimensions. You solve puzzles using ability cards that are collected by taking on various missions, and sometimes need to switch between planes of existence to reach different areas of the shop. It's a pretty laid-back game, but like I said, I seemed to reach a point where there was nothing I could do to move forward. If that risk doesn't bother you, give it a shot, please! Kid Hallow from Hamumu Games was originally released in 2008 under the name Costume Party. Don't go looking for it by its old name on Steam though, because that's something quite different. So yeah, search for Kid Hallow on Steam and find yourself in the presence of a game that's anything but snack size. From a single screenshot, you might not suspect much, but this one's a grower, not a shower. If over 100 levels of precision platforming isn't impressive enough for you, keep in mind there's also puzzle solving, combat, exploration, and numerous costumes that each come with their own special abilities. Santa Suit can't jump for shit, but he can drop loads of explosive presents and blow himself sky high. Dracula can glide and shoot bats. Frankenstein can bash blocks and enemies with his skull. The list of characters and powers seems endless. And if you're still hungry for more, there are currently over 300 user-created levels available for your enjoyment, and you can add to that number by creating your very own stages that can be uploaded, played by others, and ranked for fun and difficulty. Hey, what year did Mario Maker come out? Nintendo, were you guys looking at Hamumu's worksheet? SpookyGhost.com from Zertuk is a challenging but fair 2D action platformer that was released on August 3rd, 2018 on Steam. It's Halloween night, and you play as a ghost hunter named Ruby. While browsing catscatscats.com, an email comes through requesting your services at a local mansion. And as soon as you enter, the ghost blasting begins, as does the candy collecting. When enemies are dispatched, they leave behind sweets that can be used to purchase upgrades. Jack-o'-lantern save points can be used as often as you want, so I recommend taking full advantage, because you never know when you might stumble into a boss fight. And while not impossible, some of them will probably take a few tries before you get the patterns down. The mansion has some nice variety when it comes to scenery. You'll explore a dungeon, library, dining hall, cemetery, and even find yourself inside the stomach of a gluttonous ghost. And as your wandering takes you deeper into various parts of the mansion, your backtracking's made a bit easier with the help of a giant cat that can whisk you away to a number of fast travel locations once you've visited them. If you're looking for a cute little ghostly adventure, give it a shot, please! Halloween in the Mirror is a walking sim from Finney Clark that was released on October 29th, 2023 on itch.io. It's Halloween night, and we're alone at our friend Lewis's house, waiting for him to return from the store so we can have our weekly pizza party. But hey, notice anything as you look around Lewis's house? Not a single piece of Halloween decor. No jack-o'-lanterns, orange lights, or even a bowl of candy for trick-or-treaters. And why? Because Lewis and the player character both hate Halloween, and we're forced to control this asshole. Luckily, it's a short game. You snoop around Lewis's place for a minute and scoff at the wretched state of his home because there's a single empty Chinese food box that hasn't been thrown away. Soon, a notice slipped under the front door reminding you that on Halloween the spirit realm crosses over into the world of the living. Then you go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and fall on the floor as a creepy Asian lady stands behind you. Then you wake up in a corridor world, get chased by the Asian lady and her skeleton boys, and escape through a door that takes you back to Lewis's house 3 days after Halloween. The end. Nah, disturbing lack of Halloweeny stuff for a Halloweeny game. Nightmare at Famine Springs from Dan McGrath is a miniature treat for the 2023 Halloween season. Just released on itch.io on the 30th of October, this 2D walking sim sends the player out into the neighborhood to trick or treat. Sadly, the only other kid who wants to interact with you is the town bully. So off you go, trick or treating at all the houses you can. The people of this neighborhood, as well as your own mother, have a very odd look to them, quite unsettling. Especially this guy who jokes about putting razor blades in your candy. Don't do that. That's what's called a zero gravity joke. It'll never land. So as you're walking down the street, you find a missing persons flyer, apparently just one of the many kids from your school who's gone missing. Great! When you get to the end of the road, the bully stops you again and talks more shit about getting more candy than you, but he suggests you could try one more house, the creepy Fulmer house where legendarily bad things have happened. Of course, you go in, blood all over the place, human-sized cages, shadowy figures lurking, ritualistic altars, and spellbooks. It's a real hoot! The ending features a wild twist, and since the game's free and only takes 5 to 10 minutes to complete, I won't spoil it. Download it for yourself and give it a shot, please! Well, we started this month off with Haunted Halloween 85, so I can't imagine a better way to bookend things than by taking a look at the sequel, Haunted Halloween 86. Once again, Retrotainment gives us the chance to play as brash cool kid Donnie Johnstown. And just like in this game's predecessor, you're forced to do battle with countless villainous beasts in order to save Possum Hollow from Farmer Harry. But this isn't just the first game all over again. There's some pretty significant changes in Halloween 86. Firstly, we also get to play as Donnie's girlfriend Tammy, who we rescued at the end of the first game. You can switch between the two characters whenever you want, and they each maintain their own health, but if one dies, they both die. In addition to the good old Donnie uppercut and Tammy bicycle kick, there are also new attacks and abilities that can be unlocked as you progress through the game. Overall, 86 is much easier to complete than 85, due in no small part to the password system that saves you from having to go back to the beginning after a game over. I also think the bosses were nerfed a bit compared to the original. Give it a shot, please! On Steam and also available on cartridge at retrotainmentgames.com.